Welcome to the urgent meeting of Policy and Resources Committee, Monday 20th of July 2020. Good morning, I'm Councillor Martin Cox. I'm the Chairman of Policy and Resources Committee, and I'm pleased to welcome you all to this urgent remote meeting of the committee. The meeting will be broadcast live and recorded for playback on the Council's YouTube channel. This will include the instant messaging. Will anyone else be recording the proceedings? I ask so that people at the meeting will know if this will be happening. I take silence as no. My role as chairman will continue, however, the responsibility for managing the meeting has been temporarily assigned to the Democratic and Electoral Services, Mr. O'Connell. This officer will also provide procedural advice as required, and this officer will not steer the debate. Members are reminded that instant messaging will be visible at all times and to those viewing the meeting, and must only be used by members to indicate their wish to speak. I now ask the facilitator to take the attendance register by reading out the list of committee members who will confirm their attendance by answering present. So please have your finger near the unmute button. I now ask the facilitator to read out the list. Over to you, Mr. O'Connell.
Thank you very much, Chairman. Good morning, members. I'll go through the members of the committee first, and then I'll touch on the substitutes that I'm aware of afterwards. So, Councillor Blackmore has sent apologies. Councillor M. Burton.
Present.
Thank you. Councillor Chapeltay.
Present.
Councillor Clark.
Present.
Councillor Cox.
Present.
Councillor English.
Present.
Councillor Gooch.
Present.
Councillor Harvey. I think she sent apologies.
She did.
Councillor Mackay.
Present.
Councillor Mortimer.
Present.
Councillor Newton. I haven't formally received apologies, but as stated earlier, due to the urgency of the meeting, are you happy to accept apologies?
Yes.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Ryan, can I just say I've received a message from John Perry saying he's trying to get in but can't do so he thinks probably sending apologies.
Yeah, I've had that confirmed. So, yeah, Councillor Perry got apologies for. Councillor Pearl.
Present.
Thank you. Councillor Round.
Present.
And Councillor Springett.
Present.
And then as a substitute for Councillor Perry, I had Councillor D. Burton.
Present.
Thank you. And then I was informed that Councillor Garton.
Yes, I'm present. Good morning.
Good morning, Councillor Garton. For Councillor Blackmore.
Indeed.
Thank you, Chairman.
I also was informed that Councillor Joy was going to be subbing for Councillor Harvey. That's how I was sending a message to ask if she was coming. I'm on two screens, one with my notes and one with the agenda, and you're minimised, so I can't tell who's in the room.
Not present.
No, Councillor Joy isn't here at the moment, Chairman.
Okay, all right. Well, we will. If we start the item, she will not be able to join. Am I correct?
She can.
She can.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
She may need to be invited in.
In which case, Councillor Clark, yes, please. Right. Okay.
Martin, just as a quick point of order, Councillor Joy is just about to join.
That's what I was hoping. Okay. Thank you. Right. Okay. I now ask the facilitator to read out a list of officers present and which item they are speaking for.
Thank you, Chairman. We have Chief Executive Alison Broom and the Director of Finance and Business Improvement, Mark Green. They'll both be speaking. I think Mark Green will be presenting the property acquisition item in part 2.
Good. Thank you very much. Right, so there are no other apologies. We've had all those. Done the substitute members. A bit of a strange thing, but are there any urgent items? I don't think there are. So that's, well, only the one that we're actually here for. So are there visiting members, please, Mr. O'Connell?
So can I just be clear? I will be minuting the reason for urgency relating to the item that we've accepted under that item. We have a visiting member in Councillor Kimments who's expressed a wish to visit on item 8. However, I do need to clarify that assuming the committee decides to take it in private, Councillor Kimments hasn't demonstrated the need to know for the information and therefore will not be able to continue into the part 2 session.
So you won't be here for long, hopefully.
Goodness
Right.
sake.
Okay. Sorry, who was that?
Councillor English.
All right.
Okay. Chairman,
Please-
if you'll
please-
indulge me.
Please remember that if you are not on mute, if you say anything, it is A, recorded, and B, heard. Thank you. Sorry, who's that?
Councillor David Burton. Can I just have some reassurance from the officer that that is correct, that a visiting member may not attend a part 2, having previously done so myself?
Oh, okay. So basically,
Chairman, are you happy for me to respond?
Yes, please.
Yeah. Yeah, Councillor Burton, I've actually had this same conversation with Councillor Kimments this morning. Following a recent request that we had at another committee for a visiting member to go into part 2, it created a discussion where
go down.
I sought clarification from the monitoring officer on this precise point ahead of time in case it came up again in the future. And unless a member has demonstrated a need to know for that particular part 2 information that is being discussed, they shouldn't be going into the part 2 session.
On a point of order, Mr. Chairman, surely the committee is a delegate of the council, and any councillor, by definition, has an interest in the work of the committee. I believe the case law supports this. For example, the House of Lords in the Birmingham City Council and O case, as it's often referred to.
Mr. O'Connell, if you have any technical input here.
Yeah, I think also it's going to be quite difficult to answer here on the basis of case law that I'm unaware of myself. I don't know whether Jane, as a governance lawyer who's here, can refer to anything else, but the position that I have sought guidance on and had from the monitoring officer is that the position we are taking is correct.
I'm sorry, members, I was asked, can I check first that you can hear me?
Yes,
We can hear you.
Thank you. I've just returned from leave this morning and asked to attend this urgently, so I haven't even seen the papers for today. But if I can say, yes, I do understand that if there is a need to know that members can attend as visiting members and can hear part 2, but it's an access to information point, and there's not a general need to know by virtue of being a councillor in all matters of council business. It tends to be for matters in which you may have a legitimate interest in the decision, and that would be looked at beforehand. And I believe I did see the advice of the monitoring officer, and it was very much along the lines of what Mr. O'Connell has said. So if Councillor Kimments has gone to the monitoring officer and made a case, then he would be allowed to hear. But if there is no specific case in this matter, then that would generally not be allowed. I think it's something that if there are specific matters that councillors want to raise, then we can look at that for the future.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, Councillor Pearl just put case law in front of this committee. This case law needs to be tested before we are in a position to pursue of its correctness and whether it is applicable in this case. So I think we have no other opportunity than to test Councillor Pearl's case being provided to us, have that evaluated by the monitoring officer, and defer this meeting to this afternoon.
Chairman, if I may, I have spoken to Councillor Kimments, who has informed me in a telephone conversation this morning that he doesn't have a need to know, and he was coming purely out of a sense of intrigue or interest in what the council was doing. So I mean, whilst we can take this matter forward in the wider principles, I think for this morning it would make sense to continue with the meeting, unless Councillor Kimments has some other point he would wish to raise on that, as the matter we're talking about is whether or not Councillor Kimments can attend the part 2 or not.
Agreed. Councillor Kimments, please.
Before Councillor Kimments comes in, it's Councillor Joy here. I've had trouble getting in, but I'm here if that's still okay.
Yeah, no, that's fine. Thank you very much.
Martin.
Hello, yes, I am here. It's just a need to know basis. It's basically I just want to know everything what's going on at the council. So, and as an elected member, I feel it my right to know what's going on.
I would, Chairman, if you beg me, I would suggest that I believe the access to information rules, I don't have them in front of me, but I believe the committee itself is in a position to decide whether Councillor Kimments has a need to know to be present, and I'd move that we acknowledge his need to know and allow him into the part 2. I'd move that as a motion, please.
I'd like to second that.
Ms. Bolas, can you just advise us whether this is a correct procedure or that we could do?
Sorry, can you bear with me? I'm just trying to have a look at the Constitution, Chairman.
In which case, Councillor Pearl and Councillor Garden, can you just hold there for a second, please?
Perhaps if Jane and I could have a quick conversation separate to this meeting, just to run through the relevant bits of the Constitution and come back to the committee with the advice.
The advice was clarified at the democracy meeting on Wednesday the 13th of November, and that Birmingham City Council was actually referred to, and there is a full report on it. So it's a pity to drag it all up again, but there you go.
So what was the outcome then, Councillor Gooch?
The outcome was that it's down to the monitoring officer and for the councillor to demonstrate a clear need to know from the monitoring officer, and the decision lies with the monitoring officer. Councillor not have automatic right.
That's not.
Yeah, with respect, that's whilst that was a decision on a general point of policy. If you recall, the legal advice is actually that it's for the council to resolve where to acknowledge where there's a need to know. We delegate that to the monitoring officer in the first instance, but we actually retain that decision with the respective committees as well. And that, from off the top of my head, is what our I'm going to guess now. I think it's section 3.5. But that is what the Constitution says.
Okay, in the light of people also indicating prior to speak, I've asked Councillor Pearl and Councillor Garden, who wish to raise what they have both proposed and seconded. Can I go back to Councillor Springett and then Burton, please? And then Councillor English.
Pardon me. I'm having some connectivity problems.
You're absolutely fine on the connectivity. If you could mute, that'd be even better, please, Councillor English. So, Councillor Springett, please. Who doesn't seem to be there. Councillor Burton. Nor Councillor Burton at this point. Therefore, Councillor English.
The Democracy Committee did indeed make the decision that Mrs. Gooch, Councillor Gooch referred to. I believe that was incorrect. However, it was the decision that was made. I think that it needs to be revisited because, as far as I could see, the legal cases that were cited there were cited in part, and there was some very interesting interpretations to those, shall I say. However, that decision was made. I think that it's quite clear that even regardless of those decisions, the council does have the right to change the delegation or to institute a procedure where the decisions of the monitoring officer can be overruled. Many councils, including Birmingham, have done that, but we do not currently have that procedure in place. That's something we can do, but is something we have not done. Therefore, I would say that there are a host of issues around this subject that need to be resolved, but an ad hoc decision to resolve them by setting a precedent at this meeting is probably not the right way to do it. However, I do think these issues need to be taken forward and discussed further, because I was profoundly unhappy with the procedure that we went through before, because there are many, many legal issues that were frankly not addressed. However, at this stage, we have the danger of making a decision on the spur of the moment, which would effectively, because of the broadness of Councillor Kimansi's request, would set a massive precedent. And I cannot at this point support making a decision that could basically set our course for some considerable time on that basis. Having said that, I do believe this whole matter needs to be re-examined properly, and I don't believe that the information given to the Democracy Committee was whole and perfect and actually represented a good foundation. But that is something we need to address properly, and not today.
Point of order. It's the final provision of section 3(2) of the Constitution. It's quite clear that in the event, and I quote, that in the event of the chief executive, director or duly authorised officer not agreeing that restriction can be relaxed, the member concerned shall have the right to require the matter to be referred to the relevant committee.
Which is this committee, admittedly.
Exactly.
Yeah, Councillor Pearl, and committee more generally, the issue is, and members will be well aware of my views of some parts of the way in which this constitution is written, is that the preceding paragraph to that one talks about that all information obtained from an inspection and any copy document received shall be treated as confidential to the member and shall be for his or her use as a member only unless the chief executive, director or duly authorised officer concerned agrees at the time of inspection or supply that this restriction can be relaxed. But actually, we're not at that stage yet. We're talking about the original stage of demonstrating a need to know before it's even supplied to the member. This refers to whether or not the member can then use it, what purposes the member can use it for. And I appreciate that may seem a bit odd, because personally I think it's a bit odd, but that is what it says. However, I think we have a way around this today, potentially, in that I'm aware from other conversations with Mark Green as the report author, around the sensitivity of this information and its specific reasons why it's sensitive. So I have a question for Mark Green, which is, as report author, whether he is content that given the specifics of the circumstance, whether or not there is a general need to know for councillors but not for the public, because the intention here is very specifically to get this to I can't describe the situation out loud in part one, but there's a very specific reason that we're trying to achieve this on such a short timescale. So if Mark Green is content for councillors to have it but not the public, then I think we just need to be clear then with all members receiving information, i.e. Councillor Kimmins, that it cannot then be used any more widely or any further than coming into the part 2 session to hear what is happening, because it could prejudice the council's situation. So I'm basing this question, Mark, hopefully not putting you into a difficult position, because this is based on our other conversations that we've had on Friday.
Mr. O'Connell, could you please confirm to me who the guest is that's just joined?
Councillor Newton.
Councillor
Thank you very
Newton.
much.
Welcome.
Thank you. In which case you can carry on talking. I just wondered who it was. Thank you.
So, Mark, are you satisfied with the councillors here present having a general need to know that it won't prejudice the council's case?
Yes, I mean, the issue is about commercial confidentiality. So if the members concerned are able to respect that confidentiality, then I don't have a problem. But it is absolutely imperative that the information that we're discussing in part 2 remains confidential.
So, Chairman, if you want to check with Councillor Kimmins that he accepts that.
Councillor Kimmins, indeed, and everybody listening, all members, because obviously we are privy to something. Please, are you all in agreement that this information is confidential and should remain confidential?
Yes.
Agreed.
Yes.
Agreed.
Agreed.
Agreed. Definitely.
Agreed.
Councillor Kimmins agrees to.
Okay, thank you very much. I'm taking that everybody is in agreement.
Yes, I am.
Right. Well, thank you. Thank you very much, Councillor Mackay. Right. Okay. I have Councillor Burton's microphone is still unmuted. Did you agree or?
Chairman, I did get thrown out of the meeting and had to come back, so I may have missed a lot of what was said, and I think we've probably made the decision temporarily, but I think we'll come back to this matter at a later date.
Absolutely. Okay. In which case, I then accept that we will be moved on. We will move on. Right. Okay. Are there any disclosures by members and officers? I take your silence as no, there are no disclosures. Has anybody been lobbied? Okay, I take your silence as no lobbying. Sorry, I'm just switching between screens. I do apologise. Okay, as there are part 2 papers on the agenda this morning, I will move that the committee go into closed session for the reasons specified. Is that agreed?
Agreed.
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 I hear no dissent. Therefore, the committee will now move into closed session. The broadcast will now be turned off